All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to our Monday motivational kind of technology tip class that we have every Monday, right at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, and 8 a.m. Pacific. All right, so today's class, we're actually going to talk a little bit more about Dotloop. So now that Dotloop is officially here with JPAR, we want to highlight how you can utilize it, some of the best tips and tricks that you can use on here. But today we're primarily going to focus on the signature functionality on there to make sure that you're actually receiving and sending everything correctly and the best ways to utilize it. So first and foremost, you can always access Dotloop. If you notice on here, it'll show at the very top under your JPAR one-stop hub. We're going to have need Dotloop help at your service. Training, FAQs, and resources are available to you. All right, we can also access Dotloop from little quick links on here where we have our little options that are kind of scrolling by. Or on the left-hand side, we can also access Dotloop once again. If we scroll down a little bit further, it's going to be under our JPAR suite technology. And we're going to see Dotloop right on here. Now, however you want to access it, you can also go to dotloop.com directly too. And once we're under Dotloop on here, you should see this once you sign in. So we're going to have JPAR and then whatever your brokerage may be. So I'm currently linked with JPAR Elite on here. And then it should say premium. All right, you want to make sure it says premium on here. If it does not, please let us know. We can help out with that. Now, when looking at this, before we even get into creating a loop, let's talk about Dotloop real quick. So this is going to be your e-transaction platform where you can send off different documents for your clients or other, agents to sign. All right, so this is going to be your digital e-transaction platform for JPAR moving forward. Now, the best part about this is Dotloop is very user-friendly. It's very simple to utilize. You're going to have everything up here, whether it's your reporting section, your loops, which is the main item that you'll actually utilize moving forward. That's the main section where you can actually see all the different loops that you're working on. And think of the loop as a type of folder, basically, kind of like on your desktop or laptop. You might have a folder that'll have all of your documents for a specific item or all your pictures. This is going to be very similar on here. And then, of course, you have all of your tasks, people that you've added into these loops, and then, of course, templates. Now, before we even get started accessing this on here, all right, so we have all of our loops that we can utilize right now, but at the top right, we can actually click on our JPAR section and then select My Account. So I'm going to click on My Account from the drop-down menu. And the reason we want to take a look at My Account on here is for a couple of things. So first and foremost, if you haven't checked the back end of your My Account section yet, well, this is where you can first see, hey, do we have JPAR Premium on here? And if you do, fantastic. The first thing we're going to see on here, though, is our personal information. So this is what's going to populate for our actual profile. So we're going to have our name, our first name, last name, our email address, our phone number, your e-sign name. This is going to be a particular to take a look at, all right? Because when I was on here and I set this up originally, it thought my last name was Lee and then Roy. So it gave me the initials of SLR. All right, so you want to make sure that everything is set up correctly on here, along with certain items like your company name, job title, tagline, even your NRDS ID. Now, adding in that information will help out because some of this will auto-populate for you. Then, of course, you can also see all your additional items like your document preferences, profiles, messenger notifications, so on and so forth. But the reason I want to take a look at this first is to make sure that your information is set up properly. Because at the end of the day on here, if it is not, it's not going to feed over those documents correctly. So I'm going to go back to the loop section on here. Now, this is where you can actually create a loop. And the best part is this will then sync over with your KB Core transaction platform as well, too, for you to utilize. Now, when looking at this, you can click the Add Loop option at the top right to create a brand new loop. Now, remember, a loop is basically a folder of all of your documents for that transaction, everything you'll need to keep in one location. Now, when I click on Add Loop, it's going to ask a couple items. So first and foremost, it's going to ask the loop name, or whether you want to put in the property address or MLS number to try and find that particular property. All right. Now, what I normally suggest, and as you can see on here, unsure the property address, put in your client's name for now. You can always change it later. So what I always suggest is if you are the listing agent to put inside the property address, But if you are the buying agent, to put inside the client's name, because obviously they might be putting inside multiple offers on different properties, and you may not know what the property is that they're actually going to go through with. All right, so you can only just put it as their name until they officially have a property that's under contract. So for the time being, I'm going to put inside 123 Main Street. And I'll put in Orlando, Florida. There we go. All right. So none of those were mine. So I'm going to go and click continue on here. Now we have the templates. Now, depending on your brokerage, you may have templates available on here. All right, this brokerage has done a fantastic job of putting all the templates in specific sections so you can find what documents are going to be needed very quickly. Now, if you don't have templates available on here, that's okay. We're going to show you in a second where you can find all the documents and add them in. But I'm going to say that this is a listing on the seller side and a traditional resell. All right. Of course, you can add inside a photo. Now, this photo is just going to be for you to really see inside the loop section. So it's just something that's more visual. So that way, if you happen to know what the property looks like, instead of having to search for the property address, you can see that and click on this a little bit quicker. So I'm going to leave that blank. And then I'll click done, and it's going to finish, and it's going to make this loop for me. Now, once it is completed creating the loops, as you can see, it's adding in all the different templates right now for me. It'll then allow us to actually access that loop directly. So as you can see, I can access it, and I can even update a few items right away, whether I want to update the status of it. So if I want to say it's pre-listing and the listing price, maybe I want to say it's selling for $400,000. All right. Now I can then create another loop, view this loop, or go back to my loop. So I'm going to view this loop just so we can take a look at what it's going to look like. All right, now once we pull this up, this is what the back end of our loop is going to look like. So remember how I said it's basically like a folder at the end of the day? Well, on here, this is where we're actually going to see, hey, here's the name of that loop. It's a listing for sale because we highlighted that in the very beginning when creating it. It's pre-listing because I highlighted that after it was created. All right, and then I can view the details on here. Now, one reason I would suggest viewing the details, I'm going to open this in a new tab, before moving on with anything, before even looking at any of these documents, is because on here under the view details section, you're going to notice it's going to give you that same information again, the transaction type, loop status, and then where you can change that actual custom name. So if you want to change this to a different name later on for the loop, you can. All right, but then it's going to show on here who are the current people that are under your actual loop. Now, the people on here are anyone that needs access to this loop, whether it's an admin, whether it's a TC, whether it's another agent you're working with, another client, whoever it might be. All right, now below that though is where you can put inside the information on this particular property. Now, the reason I suggest highlighting the view details section first is because now we're going to work smarter, not harder. Because on here, we're going to be able to see under this property address section, for instance, if I put inside this information, I put in Main Street on here, Orlando, Florida, 32803, or 32801 in this case. All right, this is going to auto-populate anywhere on the documents that are template documents where it's going to pull in that information. So instead of having to add this in multiple times, you can add it in once on here, and this will help out. All right, and if you notice, there's going to be a bunch of items on here for financials. So purchase sale price, maybe 400,000 again. Sale commission total, or I can say on the sales side, it's going to be 3%, buy side 3%. All right, then we can actually put this inside on here. So sale commission total, if we're doing 3% on here, about 12,000. All right. Or in this case, technically it was 6%, it would be 24,000. And we could say 12,000 on here and 12,000 on here. All right, so you can go through and adjust this at any time. All right, and you can tweak this. Now, once again, the main reason I'm highlighting this is because at the end of the day, this is going to automatically populate on all those different templates that are available for you. So I'm going to click the save option, save successful, so we're all good to go. I'm going to go back to my loop up here. And I already had this saved, but you can also click back to loop at the top left. So now once I have my view details section set up, I can look at all the different documents that are available on here. And if I scroll down, I can also view, once again, all the people that are currently under this particular loop as well too. Now, whenever you're adding inside another person, you'll click the Add Person button, and you'll be able to add inside their full name, their email, and their role. Now, one thing I want to highlight on here is once you're adding inside their name, their email, and their role, if you click Add to Team, as you can see, this cannot be undone for this loop. Team members share everything in a loop, including documents, people, and tasks. All right, so this is only recommended for people working closely on a deal. For example, agents on the same side of the deal should be on the same loop team. So if you're splitting this with another person that's on your team, maybe you're going to be the listing agent, they're the co-listing agent, this would be perfect. All right, so you only want to add a team when it is crucial. But I always like to highlight that because this is how you're going to be able to pull people to sign different documents inside the Dotloop account. All right. Now, since this office already had a bunch of templates set up, we are all good to go. But if you ever need to add documents, you can add folders, so you can separate the folders out on here. Maybe you want to have one, as you can see on here, for secure listing. They have one for offer accepted, one for final closeout, and then one for specific use docs. All right, so I could actually make a folder on here of whatever I want. Maybe I want to say, these are going to be my pre-listing documents. All right, and then I could add documents from either the templates that our office or our board has available. I can browse and add inside any type of PDF that I may have, and then I can actually make it interactive, or I can email this in as well too. All right. Now, with that being said on here, though, I'm going to go ahead and select this, going really slow. I'm going to select one of these items on here. So maybe I'm going to select the residential disclosure. I'll do this. The exclusive authorization and right to sell. That was hard to, I don't know why that was hard to say. Right to sell, exchange, or lease, brokerage, listing agreement. All right, so I'm going to click on this real quick. And as you can see, now it's going to pop up with all the different roles that are available. So I can specify that I am listing agent 1. I could specify that my seller in this case, maybe my seller is, maybe it's no one right now, and I want to add someone in later on. All right, but once I do that, and then here's the other information that I'll need to autofill. So I can say the original price once again, 400,000. I can say the expiration date on here is the end of, the end of June, and the listing date is today. Now, if I click autofill, so I'm going to say continue. As you can see, it autofills all that information inside here. So that's going to make your life that much easier. So now instead of having to go through and put in that information each time, anytime this is going to pop up, it'll automatically add that in for you. And if you notice, now we're going to have initial sections. Now, if it happens to have the initial section where it's outlined in red, that means someone else has to initial. So for this case, the seller. All right. And if it ever has it where it is completely filled in, all right, then that is where you're actually going to sign directly. Let me see if I can find one that might be on here. It might be at the very bottom. We'd have to sign. Yep. So as you can see, it's fully filled out. That means that we need to actually sign that on here. So once I actually go through, I could click sign right here. Maybe I'll do sign now. Here's what my signature is going to look like. Here are my initials. I'll adopt and sign. And then it's Dotloop verified as of 11:16 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now that's how simple it is just to go through and add inside the information. And of course, all these are editable items, so we can actually go through and add in their info on here as well too. But then I can save and share, whatever you may prefer. So I'm just going to save right now so it doesn't share with anyone. But I just want to show you how simple it is to add inside autofill features, including the people on here. So I could highlight myself as the listing agent. And every time a listing agent section pops up, it'll automatically put Scout Leroy as that. All right, or if we add another person, then once again, we can add in their full name. So maybe this is the actual seller. So I can put inside John Smith, for instance. Oh, sorry about that. John Smith, seller at gmail.com. And then I can put in the role on here where they're actually the seller. As you can see, then more information will pop up for them. But in this case, now they're listed as the seller, and then everywhere a seller piece will pop up, it'll automatically highlight that too. All right, so there you go. So that is a quick overview of how you can utilize the people section, how you can utilize the automatic fields, and more importantly, how you can start a loop right away. So once again, going through everything, what we did is we started on JPAR One-Stop Hub. You can see the Dotloop help up here. You can see Dotloop over inside the little slider under quick links. You can also access Dotloop over here on the left-hand side under JPAR Suite Technology, or you can go to dotloop.com and access this directly as well too. Now remember, we're going to look for this JPAR premium option at the top left so we can access that right away on here. But there you go. So that is your 15-minute update for the week, primarily on Dotloop today. So please feel free to come back every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right on here at slmwebinar.com for a quick 15-minute start to your week to highlight your JPAR technology. I hope you're having a fantastic day and look forward to helping y'all out very soon.